Good morning. It is 8:16 a.m. on Sunday, May 7th, 2017. I'm Christiana Ellis and I just got up. Excuse me. This is 5 more minutes. I'm feeling a little better. My sinus infection, cold thing, whatever, is I think uh, improving. Not gone, but better, hopefully. But I'm excited to talk about today's episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender, Season 2, Episode 17, Lake Laogai. This is a heck of an episode, and it's where we're really beginning to the ramp up into the end of this season. Book 2, and there's some great stuff in it. We've got smart characters being smart, figuring stuff out, super creepy brainwashing, um, joyful reunion at the end, and emotional ambivalence and conflict with Zuko especially. Boy, some great stuff in this episode. So let's. Also, this episode is one of the ones that is it's so rich with continuity in terms of things that happened in the past mattering and following through to the present day. So let's just kind of start at the beginning. We have, the kids are continuing their search for Appa, not having had any luck so far, but trying new things. They're not just doing the same thing over and over again. They said, hey, how about flyers, posters, to see if anyone has seen anything? And of course, we get some laughs at Sokka's expense because he's not good at drawing. And even though Toph says, I think they look fine. Yeah. But it's so not only is it a good idea that they're trying new things, but it also provides an excellent opportunity to bring the two stories, Team Avatar and then Zuko and Iroh, back together again. Because, of course, Zuko finds one of the flyers, sees that I know the Avatar is in the city, and he's lost his bison. And so that's just a great way to bring the stories back together. I just love that so much that it feels natural. There's so much of the way the continuity in this episode is brought together. It's just great stuff. But in any case, we also have the flyers being kind of the last straw for the kids because Judy shows up again, and it's the original one again now, and they're saying, what? Wasn't it? Where did you go? We thought they replaced you with someone else. And she's just basically gaslighting them, saying, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I'm fine. I just went on a vacation to Lake Laogai. So the kids are obviously, by this time, they've been waiting around because they didn't know what other option they had, but they've gotten the message pretty clearly now. They're jerking us around. They're not trying to help us. So maybe it's time to stop playing by their rules, which is a satisfying decision to make, but of course, potentially very dangerous because who knows? We also happen to know that the kids are maybe not even yet fully aware how dangerous the Dai Li are. Uh, and Long Feng, I believe, is the trying to make sure. Yeah, the Dai Li led by Long Feng, that's right. But the opportunity to break rules, especially enthuses Toph, who just takes the opportunity to randomly bust through the wall with her earthbending. That seemed unnecessary, but sure, why not? It's as a sign of like we are definitively, we are not cooperating anymore. We're going to do what we need to do, and I love Aang's decision there. It's risky, but it feels good, right? And so we have. I'm trying to think what order to do things. So they're out putting up posters, and we have another just bit of humor with the reveal that Toph might have some trouble putting up posters in an effective way. And I love that she puts it on backwards and says, "It's upside down, isn't it?" It's like, well, maybe. But of course, when Katara is out putting up posters, she encounters Jet, who if you recall, we last saw Jet when he had been kidnapped, taken into custody by the Dai Li, and we saw that creepy spinning lantern thing, and there is no war in Ba Sing Se. There is no war in Ba Sing Se. Super creepy. And so, but now he shows up, at least, we know something's up, but at least as far as, Katara can tell, he seems normal, except that he is promising to help her. And I love that she is just immediately, there is no lingering affection at this point. Like, she decided, nope, you're a monster. You were going to try to kill a whole town. And thankfully, we were able to stop you, and you're a bad person. I don't want to talk to you. Although, obviously, as Toph points out, some of that anger is limiting for her because she's so caught up in that anger because it was this betrayal of these warm feelings she had had for him once, that it makes her less inclined to even follow up on this lead that he says he has. His story, he found one of the flyers, and he has a lead for them. And so the other kids kind of overrule Katara in the sense of saying, look, we're not saying we trust him, but we don't have any other leads, so how can we not follow this one? And this is where we get to what I was talking about in terms of smart characters being smart, which is the plan. Long Feng's plan is kind of a genius plan, which is they have Jet. They probably know everything about his previous encounter with the Avatar from having interrogated him. And they use him to give them a false lead. And it's a false lead where, obviously Appa was staying in this warehouse. There's some of his fur left behind. There's an old janitor guy who claims to know. Oh yeah, they just moved him recently. Just a couple of days ago. You just missed him. And they're sending him way far away, halfway across the world. And it almost works because the kids are gearing up. They're saying, all right, we're going to go. It's a long way, especially since we don't have Appa to fly us there. But by God, that's what we're doing. That's where we're going. And the only reason it ultimately didn't work is because Longshot and Smellerbee happened to encounter them and say, Jet, there you are, you're okay. And of course, this makes Jet's whole story fall apart because he claims that he doesn't have his gang. He was just hanging out in the city. They say, but wait, you were arrested by the Dai Li. How are you okay now? And Toph's little liar truth sense, which they had set up previously, and has got an amazing payoff later. She says, wait, they're both telling the truth. How can that be? And then Sokka thinks about it for a second. He's been brainwashed. They have an example of someone being brainwashed by the Dai Li in Judy, right? They have a conflict where Jet is suddenly shown up and acting different and gives them a lead towards Appa. And now it seems like his story can't be true, but he thinks he's telling the truth, and he figures it out. He must be brainwashed, and it was brainwashed by the Dai Li, who are trying to get them to leave the city instead of finding Appa. And if we can break the brainwashing, maybe he can tell us where they did it. And I'm thinking, that is so great. Thank you, Sokka. You're awesome for figuring that out. And it just reminds me, too, again, of when I first started this rewatch, thinking back to the way Sokka acts in the first couple of episodes and thinking, it's like, I remember liking Sokka so much. Why is that? And he's like, because stuff like this, because he's so smart. Anyway, so I love that they figure that out. But of course, breaking the brainwashing, not a trivially easy thing. They try having him remember, some of his painful childhood memories, but ultimately, you know, um, it takes a little more than that. But when they get it, all right, great. Now we know that there is a base under Lake Laogai. And so the kids make their way there. In the meantime, we have Iroh has been doing so well at this tea shop. He makes great tea, and we know it's because he cares about it so much. He's passionate. He puts his all into making this tea. And it has attracted the attention of someone who wants to have him run his own tea shop, which seems like a great step up in the world of running tea shops, and they will get a better apartment and so on and so forth. And Iroh seems very happy, but of course Zuko is frustrated because it's like, oh, Iroh really is just trying to say that this is our life now. And that is dissatisfying for Zuko. And Iroh tries to talk to him about trying to decide who he really wants to be and trying to set aside this picture of destiny that was put into him by his father, who didn't really care about him. And it's a really great moment because it puts us, the viewer, in an ambivalent position. Because on the one hand, if we think about the situation, I mean, Iroh is right. We can recognize the wisdom in what he's saying. But the idea that Zuko and Iroh would really just settle down and run a tea shop and just, that's it. They live out their lives in Ba Sing Se and that's the end of the story. Like, that feels really dissatisfying. Because we're bought into this destiny idea too. Even as we know that Zuko's current trajectory is probably self-destructive. And it's just this moment where we know that Iroh knows that too. He can see what Zuko is thinking. He knows it and he recognizes it, and he's doing his best to portray that there's another way and it's not working, and he's sad about that and he doesn't know what else to do. But Zuko will not be satisfied with this idea of settling down, and so he once again dons the blue spirit mask, captures a Dai Li agent and basically threatens him in order to get the location of Lake Laogai base, to find the bison before the Avatar can. And we see him sneak in, and there's a great bit of editing trickery. Hang on, something on my glasses. A little bit of editing trickery where we have both Zuko as the blue spirit and the kids infiltrating the base, but we're not sure which one is where. And so we see that Zuko does in fact find Appa first. But then we discover almost immediately Iroh's been following him this whole time. And at this point, Iroh finally gets angry with him, saying, "What is your plan here? This is okay. You found the bison, so now what? You have no plan. Do you have any way to control this animal? What are you even planning to do with him? Are you planning to kill him, free him, sneak him away off somewhere?" And I love, too, that he specifically brings up the North Pole, which is the stuff that happened at the end of Season 1, Book 1, in the sense that you kidnapped the Avatar's unconscious body and basically just dragged him off into the snowy wilderness with no plan of how to escape and not freeze to death. And I love that Iroh brought that up and just said, it's just like that. You are so determined to get what you think you want that you don't have any kind of a plan or follow-up of what it means to have that or what to do with it once you do. And just basically completely chewing them out. And we leave that scene not knowing what Zuko's response to that will be. And that's a great bit of tension. Meanwhile, we have the kids infiltrating, the Team Avatar plus Jet and Smellerbee and Longshot infiltrating the base. They do a bunch of fighting against the Dai Li, and it's nice to see a bunch of teamwork on their behalf, making some headway against the Dai Li now that we're kind of wise to their tricks a little bit. And but there's just so many. I mean, that's the problem, is that you're infiltrating their base. This is where they all hang out. And there's, of course, we get the really creepy image of the Dai Li all clinging upside down to the ceiling like bats. But so they're in the base. They're looking for Appa, and where's it going to be? What are we doing here? And then at one point, Aang and Jet get separated from the others. It's time to actually confront Long Feng, who's fleeing because at least this wave of Dai Li were being defeated. But this is where step 2 of Jet's brainwashing kicks in, and he makes Jet fight Aang. But I love too that just Aang is he once again reaches out emotionally and says, "You're supposed to be a freedom fighter," and that allows Jet to break free enough that he stops fighting, throws his sword at Long Feng, but Long Feng hits him with an earthbending hit that is made, the way that it's presented and shown on screen, even though we don't see detail of it, the execution of it is presented in a way to show us that this is a serious hit, and the fact that he's on the ground not moving afterwards is not a good sign. But while Aang checks on Jet, Long Feng escapes. And then we have the rest of the team show up. And it's clear everyone's still on the move because there's more of these agents kind of still pursuing them, even though they've kind of gotten free for the moment. But Katara starts to try to heal him and only gets far enough to realize this is really bad. And even though Jet's able to talk, he seems to not be moving at all. He might be paralyzed. And this is where we get not only a sad moment, or it's kind of a hero moment for Jet and his crew. They say, you still have to find Appa, so you can't stay here and risk not finding Appa. So leave him with us. We'll be okay. And Jet saying, I'll be okay. And then this is where the payoff for the runner of Toph's lie senses. He's lying. And we see that Smellerbee and Longshot are going to try to hold him off. And of course, we have Longshot talking for the very first time in calling Jet their leader. And we hope they'll be okay, but the way they're left is ominous. Which just kind of reminds me again of how we left Suki with the Zula in the last episode. Not looking good. So, in the meantime, though, we have Appa and Sokka and Katara find the room where Appa clearly was, and he's gone again. And they're like, oh no, Long Feng beat us here and has moved him again. And they're bummed. But so they go to leave. Oh no, now they're surrounded, everyone. But Momo hears something, flies off, and then there's Appa, and it's the reunion, and Appa just throws all of the Dai Li into the lake, including Long Feng, and it's so satisfying having all the kids meet up with them again. Yay! And it's also fun. In addition to seeing the reunion, we also know now that means Zuko just set him free and let him go. So that he could potentially be reunited with the Avatar. And it's like we're so happy that like, yay, that's the right decision. And so the kids have Appa again now. They've successfully defied the Dai Li, even if that's not necessarily a completed threat. Um, and now they've got Appa back, much more empowered, and it's good stuff for them. And then we have at the very end Zuko and Iroh talking about Zuko's decision, and we can still see that this Zuko is still very much feeling conflicted, but he does at Zuko's uh, suggestion drop the blue spirit mask into the water, and that's supposed to be kind of symbolic of leaving that behind. But I think that we can kind of still feel in him that he's not done with this idea of him needing to have a destiny. Um, it just doesn't go that easy, you know. But he made a step in that direction, in the direction of finding out who he is and what he wants to do. But that's definitely a story that's not finished yet. And so that's such a great thread, all of those. So like I said, this is a great episode with so much good stuff in it. Um, and I guess that's it. But so we're ramping right up to the end of this season, big climax there. So next week we're talking about season 2, episode 18, the Earth King. Finally, right? And so I'll be back next week to talk about that episode. Talk to you guys later. Talk to you tomorrow for 5 more minutes.